Welcome to the CU 2.0 podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the CU 2.0 podcast with big new ideas about credit unions and conversations about innovative technology with credit union and fintech leaders. This podcast is brought to you by Quillo, the real-time loan syndication network for credit unions, and by your host, longtime credit union and financial technology journalist Robert McGarvey. And now, the CU 2.0 podcast with Robert McGarvey.
What exactly does a credit union chief strategy officer do? On the show today is Bill Snider, the chief strategy and innovation officer at Clearview Federal Credit Union. It's a credit union with around $2 billion in assets that serves 10 counties around Pittsburgh. Longtime listeners will recall that I have often expressed skepticism about strategies at many credit unions, and also skepticism about their commitment to innovation. Snider is here to show that, in fact, a credit union indeed can have a genuine strategy and also genuinely be innovative. And more importantly, these abilities are essential for Clearview, which, by virtue of its location and field of membership, has to compete with PNC, a Pittsburgh local bank that also has assets of about $555 billion and is in fact the seventh largest bank in the U.S. But Pittsburgh is its home, and definitely PNC plays on that local angle. The show's wide and ranging. We talk about AI, mobile apps, community service, feeding the hungry. All of this is the stuff that innovation and strategy revolve around at credit unions today. Listen up. So, Bill, you're the strategy guy.
I am indeed. At least that's what the word of my title. So, yes.
I talk to many credit unions about strategy, and it often seems to me that they're not really doing strategy. They're doing business planning with maybe a little extra muscle. How do you define strategy for a credit union? And you have an interesting strategic problem, I think, which is PNC is very close to you geographically, and it's 550 times bigger.
Yes.
Something like that. I mean, it's
yes.
It's and that's, I was doing the math. I said, man, that's bigger. I mean, usually I say, Navy Federal is like 20 times bigger than you. Okay, I can deal with that math. They're 30 times bigger. 550.
Right.
Wow. And PNC also, I think, comes across as to many people, a local Pittsburgh institution, which is essentially where you're based, in the Pittsburgh area.
That's
am
correct.
I right?
So,
Am I totally off base with this?
Yes. No, you are spot on. PNC began, or at least what the founding of PNC, what it used to be, began in Pittsburgh. And so they are the big brother that we have to compete with on a day-to-day basis. They are all over the city. They do a lot of great work in the city, as do we, but we definitely have to compete against them. And the reality is that many of our budgets are probably a rounding error to PNC. So it makes us have to be agile and play in areas where they can't, or perhaps where they won't, which you asked earlier about strategy and, is it really just business planning with a little bit extra? And so I look at strategy as that long-term roadmap that tells you where you want to be. And it's not always going to have the step-by-step. I think that's where the business plan comes in. These are the particular steps that we're going to get there. But you have to have a plan, so I have that North Star, as I always say, that everybody can rally around, and then be agile enough to adapt that strategy when either the market demands, or in our case, when someone like a PNC or Chase or B of A comes into the market, or PNC opens a new location. You have to be flexible enough to be able to react to what's happening. And so when we talk about our strategy in this market, we definitely look at PNC. We look at what they're doing. We look at the branches that they're closing in Pittsburgh as we continue to expand and see where we can make a difference to the folks that bank with us today, but also the folks that we want to bring into Clearview in the future.
Now, a person I'm talk to a lot is Kirk Portalewski, retired CEO of Bethpage, a very big credit union on Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And I've asked Kirk this question a number of times. I always get the same answer. That's now like a $15 billion credit union. It's a big credit union. And so I asked him, so do Chase and Citi know that Bethpage exists? And he said no, which actually is a competitive advantage, strangely enough. I mean, so if Chase is sitting there saying, wait, geez, we're gonna beat Clearview's rates, they can beat your rates any day, anytime they want to.
Yep.
But they might do that to PNC, but they're not going to do that to you, I don't think. And does PNC know you exist?
I would hope so. I would like to think that all of the great work that we're doing in the community and the efforts that we've done over the past year to rebrand and market ourselves in the area, I would love to think that maybe not the CEO of PNC, but maybe one of his direct reports gets up every morning and thinks about how they can beat Clearview. But the reality is they probably are looking at folks like a B of A or a Chase, or maybe in some of their other markets, some larger FIs. So they might not know that we're here. And to your point, and the point that you just made about Bethpage, I do see that as an opportunity. I do think that allows us to maybe talk to some sponsorship partners and some other community organizations that PNC might not talk to, or that those organizations wouldn't approach because they just think that PNC is too big. So we definitely pay attention to what they do. We pay attention to where their branches are located at. But we also do what's right for us. And we also look and see where maybe a place where they're not at, or a place that they left, or a sponsorship that they gave up that maybe we can capitalize on. And so I do think that where we're at, we're larger than the other credit unions in our market, but smaller than some of the banks. I think that gives us an opportunity to be a little bit more agile than maybe a larger bank would be in our market.
Well, you're big enough to offer everything a Chase or a PNC offers that most people need and want, and that's we agree. To me, yeah, your size, you should offer. I mean, I use a credit union about the same size as yours, and they have everything I want. It's now, am I doing highfalutin financial transactions? No, I'm not. But for ordinary banking stuff, it's you're plenty big enough to be satisfactory.
And we talk a lot about that. I think that in some markets, in some places across the country, I think there's this perception that credit unions are small. They only offer loans. That's how many of them started, or they only offer the very basic services. And to your point, we have all the solutions that a PNC, a Bank of America, a Chase has for a consumer or a small business. And in many cases, we have more. We have Clearview Live, which is our video banking, which allows people to do face-to-face transactions without ever having to leave their home. A lot of bigger institutions don't even have that. We have ITM machines, so you can talk to somebody when you're depositing a check instead of just an ATM with a screen. You can talk to somebody. A lot of larger financial institutions don't have that. So I agree with you. I think we have all the solutions that anybody else has, as well as features that they don't, because in many cases they just can't do it at that scale. We have that ability to do so. You take those solutions, you couple that with the community aspect that's so important to us. And I think that's why we're different than other financial institutions. And I think in general, that's why credit unions can compete against banks, is because of that combination of the solutions and helping the people that bank with them.
Do you belong to the co-op, the old co-op shared branching and ATM networks?
We do indeed. So
that means you have more ATMs than PNC, probably by a factor of 4. It's
we do, right? So yeah, so in the Pittsburgh market, in addition to our 24 locations that people can go to, you're right. We have, and we talk a lot about that Not only are we part of that co-op network, we're a part of several other ATM networks. And so, yes, when you stack our ATM network, the ability to get cash, it is larger than a PNC's. It's larger than other financial institutions. And then on top of that, if you do need to go in and make a deposit, let's say, or do some sort of withdrawal, we have that, that shared branching network as well. So if for whatever reason you're not in the market, you can do that as well. And so we do talk about that as a way that Clearview can really be everywhere without having to have a true physical presence in every single state in the country.
Yeah, I've used shared branching exactly once, but I remember it was a great time saver for me. I think it's a wonderful benefit. I just don't usually get big checks. So
that's right.
So
I wish I did. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to send me one, that's fine. Yeah, I'll run down it. I'll run down and use shared branching again.
You send one to me and I'll send one to you, and yes, then we can utilize our financial centers and the shared branching network. Yes.
But yeah, it was great, and so the credit unions do have some weapons that the big guys don't have, and it's very cool. It's now, how do you get the community to understand that you have these weapons, not just those in particular, but that you have all the stuff that they need?
It's a great question, and it's a lot of what we spend our time doing, both from a true sort of traditional marketing and advertising perspective, as well as all the great work that we do in the community with our various partnerships, both businesses and organizations that give back to the area, is talking about what we do. I still get questions. What is a Clearview? What is a credit union? And so we spend a lot of time talking about the benefits of a credit union, talking about the benefits of Clearview, and talking about how we can help them really meet their financial goals. But we have to keep doing that, just to keep telling people that they can open an account, that we have all the solutions. And so we make sure that we always sort of set that foundation when we're in the community, in our advertising and marketing. This is who we are. This is what we can do. And then let's talk a little bit more about the solutions that we can offer. That is a benefit that some of the larger institutions don't have to worry about. We go back to PNC. Nobody from PNC has to worry about in their advertising or marketing or in the community talking about what PNC is or how somebody can open an account. We do have to spend our time doing that. And so we are honest with folks and tell them all the great stuff we have, and then try to make it as easy as possible for them to join us and bank with us.
What's your field of membership?
We serve the 10 counties in Southwest Pennsylvania. So Pittsburgh and Allegheny County, in which it is in, sits sort of in the middle. And then we have the 9 surrounding counties around that.
And anybody who resides or works in those counties can open an account?
That's correct. Anybody who lives, works, or worships, goes to school can open an account. They can obviously come into one of our branches, our financial centers. They can do it online. They can still do it on the phone, although that has gone way down over the years, but we have multiple ways to do it. But yes, if they see us and have anything to do with that 10 county geography, we can find a way to make them a part of Clearview.
Now, let's switch and talk a bit about technology.
Sure.
I imagine a credit union your size, do you have any homebrew technology tools? And the usual answer is no.
We probably have 1 or 2 floating around, but for the most part, the answer is no. For the most part, we rely on third parties heavily and third-party partners to really do everything that we do internally, that every solution that we offer to somebody who's a member. And obviously with that comes all the coordination to make sure that all those third parties and all those partners talk to each other and that every system can integrate and interact with another one.
Do you use any QZOs?
We do. We do. We are part of several QSOs. We have one for, it's not so much on the tech side, but we have one that for indirect loans. We are part of a QSO for some AI and for some chatbots that allows us to not only leverage those tools, but also set some of the roadmaps for that organization. But then we also just go out and we see what's in the market, talk to other credit unions of our size, see what they're doing. So a few QSOs, but most of it is just going out and surveying the marketplace, doing RFPs, and finding the right partner for what we need.
Well, that's one of the real credit union advantages, is that you can call up other credit unions and they'll talk to you. If PNC calls up Chase and says, "Hey, what's the team that put together your mobile banking app?" Chase would hang up. So it's clearly a crank call.
Yes. Yes, that is an awesome feature of working for a credit union and being in the industry. I have been here at Clearview now just about 8 years, and I remember when I first started getting the phone number or email address of another credit union who, not in our market, across the country, who just wanted to talk. And I remember going to my manager at the time and saying, "Is this okay? Can we do this?" Because I had just come from the retail sector, where anybody that sold the same thing I did or anything close to it was a competitor. And I never wanted to talk to them. And yes, I wanted to know what they were doing, but you had to do it in secret. You had to find former employees who would talk to you. But credit unions are very different. And that is an awesome feature. It's an awesome benefit to be able to talk to somebody in the same space, understand what they're doing, share resources, share vendors, learn what's working and not. That cooperative spirit, despite everything that's happened to credit unions and the business and the industry and the environment, that is still there, and that's one of the things I appreciate. And so when people call me up or send me emails and say, "Can we talk?" That's a meeting that I always find time for, because it's always great to have those talks and conversations.
Now, tell me about that AI QSO that you belong to.
Sure. So we are Posh is the name of it, and so Posh is a vendor that works with other organizations, other FIs. They even have some banks, although we don't talk to them about that. But it's really agentic AI, the ability to have agents, and to have an AI agent answer a chat or answer a phone call, and try to service the person asking the question before it gets to an actual human. We obviously have a way, both on the phone, through chat, that's easy to escalate that conversation to somebody for more assistance. But what we try to do is answer as many questions as possible, as quickly as possible, without having a human have to intervene. And so that's what we do with that AI QSO. And we, as a credit union, have embraced AI and are looking for other ways that we can leverage it across the organization, both internally with the folks that work here in our back office, but also figuring out ways that we can have AI help the people that bank with us and make their tasks easier, make their financial journey better.
How accepting of AI are your employees?
I would say very accepting. We actually talk about it quite a bit. We just talked a second ago about talking to other credit unions, and I have talked to other credit unions. My peers have. We have other folks have that are not as accepting, who are a little bit more concerned about it. The way that I look at it, the way that we look at it, is that AI is not going to replace people, but it's going to make them more efficient. And so now, instead of somebody having to manually do something, the AI can assist with that, or the AI can make the communication better. We have an AI tool that our marketing team uses to help us create starting points for blogs and emails.
Oh, cool.
Social posts. And so, yes, we have somebody that we never put that out without somebody checking it. But if you have a writer's block and you just can't think of what topic should I talk about today, or what's the right word, that's where AI, I think, can come in handy and really help those teams. And then obviously from a data perspective, I think that's also a next great area that we're going to focus on, and I think other organizations can focus on, is taking these data sets, again, that have anonymous data. You never want to, I think, put any PII information into an AI engine, but take this anonymous data and it can quickly summarize and give you information and create charts. Again, you still need a human, you still need a person to interpret that data, to put the pieces together to understand what that data tells you. But some of that work that would take hours or days, the AI engine can do in in a very short period of time. And really, I think AI can help us from a data perspective get out of reporting and get into analysis. Let the AI do all the reporting, let the human do the analysis and figure out what it means, how it plays into the strategy, what those next steps are from a business perspective. I think that's the benefit. And so again, we have told folks that AI is a partner. It's a friend, so to speak, that can really help and drive the organization. And so I think what we're trying to do now is figure out where across the organization it makes sense, because it doesn't solve everyone's problem and it doesn't solve every team's problem. But let's find those teams and those problems where it does make sense, and let's use it. We can't be afraid of it. I'm going to date myself, but when the internet, became a thing, I remember being in meetings and people talking about, are we sure we want to use this internet thing? Do we really want to do surveys on it, sell merchandise, have online banking? Well, the answer was yes. And I think AI is the same way. You have to embrace it. You can't run away from it. And those organizations, those credit unions that don't embrace it are going to be left behind.
And just as with the internet, companies realized that they had to set guidelines for employees about what they can and can't do on the company computer on the internet. And the guidelines, for the most part, were pretty straightforward. It wasn't onerous, really. And you have to do the same thing with AI. There's some things you really just shouldn't be doing on the company computer on AI. So don't do them. Do them at home.
Yeah, correct. And that was one of the first things that we did when we started using, especially these LLM models more. Let's make sure that we are not putting PII information into any of these models, despite what they say, that they aren't going to share information. Let's not do that. Let's not take our proprietary code for any system and put that into an AI model and say, hey, can you tell me what's wrong with this code? But is it okay to use AI to say, hey, can you reframe this email that I'm about to write? Is it okay to say, hey, could you give me some talking points for a blog post on financial education? Yes, those things are okay. And so you're right. You do have to put the guidelines. I think the one thing that's a little bit different with AI than when the internet first came out is just the speed at which things are.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And so that policy that we put together, quite honestly, a policy that I think we probably wrote with AI's help, that policy has to continue to evolve. It's going to keep changing. And it seems like, just as we wrote that policy and got some folks used to what these LLMs could do from a text perspective, well, now they can produce images. Now they can produce a video. So again, I think it's just that pace of change is really, I think, something that we have to stay on top of. And obviously any sort of policies and procedures we have to catch up and try to stay ahead.
Oh, yeah. And think about PII. I think a lot of credit unions have already wrestled with that when they were dealing with using data lakes. So do I want to put Bill Snider's personal credit information in the data lake with his name attached? No, I don't. Am I willing to put his credit information in the data lake? Yep, probably. It's but I got to take out the name, social security number, and stuff like that. But so institutions have already been down this path.
You're right. How do we take data? How do we anonymize data Going back to your earlier question about any homegrown systems, because we don't have that, a lot of other credit unions don't. Because you have all these partner platforms and systems, you have to understand how they store data, what they store, and so you're spot on. The industry, we have learned over time how you can send data about a member to a platform without exposing who that person is, and then being able to tie it together on the back end or tie it together in a data lake or a data warehouse, like you talked about, to be able to do analysis and to be able to provide solutions and services, but not having to store that information. And it's something that we still work on quite a bit, something that we definitely challenge our vendors about quite often. But you're right. I think from an AI perspective, some of that stuff has already existed, which is definitely a benefit.
Now, how do you benchmark and rate your mobile banking tools? I mean, what do you size them up against?
A great question. So we do a couple different things. One is we rely heavily on the feedback of the folks that use it, and I'm happy to say that our star ratings in both of the app stores are quite high. But we look at every single review that comes across, positive or negative. And if it's negative, we actually reach out to those individuals. So we do a lot of that because a lot of people have multiple financial institutions. I think the old days of one PFI, one primary financial institution, I think those days are gone. I think most people have multiple institutions, and because of that, they use multiple online banking sites, multiple apps, and so they have something to compare our app against. And so we use those surveys quite a bit because we, as an organization, have multiple people that work here that have multiple accounts. We sort of use those employees that have accounts and mobile apps at other places as our online focus groups. And so we always try to collect data and feedback from those folks, if they see something in another platform that they think would benefit us, we want to hear about it and understand how we can use it. So we do that. We do a lot of talking to other credit unions, both of our size, smaller size, larger, to understand what they're doing, what they're seeing, what the trends are that they have to develop. And then we also rely heavily on our digital banking partners to feed back information on what they're seeing in the marketplace, what other clients are asking about. Ultimately, it's up to us of what we implement, what features we implement, but that's what we look at. And we also look at what are the features that we can add that can make it more self-serve. Our goal, and I think we've done a pretty good job, but it's always something that we have to continue to work at, is making sure that we add features in the mobile app into online banking that basically allows people to do anything they could do at one of our financial centers, at one of our branches, with the exception of getting cash. And maybe at some point we'll be able to figure that out too. And so if I can open an account or deposit a check or ask a question in person, then we want that same exact experience, hopefully even faster, as a self-serve feature on our app. But that's something that you have to constantly keep up with. People are used to an app like an Amazon or other shopping apps that are very sleek, streamlined. It's a great experience. Things happen quickly. And that's the kind of experience that people want. And so I'm fortunate enough to have a team of individuals on my team that that's what they spend all day doing and thinking about is how can we make this mobile app, how can we make our online banking better and more efficient for the people that use it, so that anything they want to do, they can do themselves without having to have someone help them.
Yeah, you mentioned this. I personally think that a financial institution has to benchmark its particularly mobile tools against things like Amazon and Netflix, because that's where people live, is on Amazon and Netflix. And that's the standard of excellence that they become used to, or at least I find them to be pretty good tools.
I totally agree with you. Those apps, especially the apps, but websites also, but especially on a phone on that smaller form factor. Totally agree. What are those apps that people are using? E-commerce, shopping, but also, how are they watching music? The ability to quickly search for an item or a show or music, and to be able to purchase it or watch it, to get status updates. If you think of something like at Amazon, of where is my order, when will I get it? Yes, we have to do the same exact things, the best that we can, if not exactly the same. So when I am applying for a loan, depositing a check, if there's a process flow, we need to be able to show the member that's doing that where they're at in the process flow. If they are, that's why we continue to add features. If I can make an online appointment for my car or my doctor, we should be able to have online appointments and mobile and online banking on our website, which is what we added a couple years ago. So you're exactly right. I mean, the reason we added video banking was because of FaceTime. People were already used to it. They were already communicating through video communications. And then with the pandemic and just the explosion of video conferencing, why can't people bank that way? So let's offer that to them. So I agree with you. I think a lot of innovation in the financial services industry really needs to come from outside of the industry and then be adapted to people and how they bank.
One thing I've come to think is that where credit unions can win is by being better at community relations. And you've touched on that already, but can you talk a little more about how you can beat PNC, et cetera, in community relations in your 10-county area? I mean, the nice thing is you have a defined area that probably has a lot of commonality.
Correct.
PNC, I think, is in 27 states. Do they have much commonality? Probably not.
Right. Yeah, we are, for most credit unions, especially us, community is very important. It's at the heart of what we do. And I think that obviously stems from the fact that we are part of the community. You talked about PNC being in 27, plus states there. And yes, they can say that they are part of the community. And yes, they have people that live in those areas, but we are truly here. Our headquarters are here. All of our locations are in this area. And, I agree with you. I think that other credit unions can make a difference, can compete against some of the bigger financial institutions in the community. We just released a couple of days ago, actually, our community impact report for last year. And we were privileged enough that we were able to donate almost $275,000 in our community. But what makes me even prouder than that dollar amount is the fact that we had over 300 employees, about 75% of our workforce, donate almost 9,000 hours to 330 local organizations. And I think that's where we and other credit unions can make the difference, is a larger financial institution can easily write a check. And everybody loves to go to a local organization, give that big cardboard check. They love to do it. They get to dress up. The organization loves to accept it. And that definitely helps. Don't get me wrong. Donations definitely help drive an organization. But in many times, that check is the first and last interaction that organization will have with that financial institution. With us, with other credit unions, our checks might not be as large, at least dollar amount wise. We still have the big checks like everybody else. But what makes us different is not only are we giving that check, not only are we giving that donation, but we're staying behind. We are in the community. We're listening to those organizations. We're showing up to help them. And I think that really makes a difference. That boots on the ground philosophy is very important to us, very important to credit unions. And I think that's where we can make a difference. And so what we do, we think it's so important to be in the community that we, with our partner organizations, we share some opportunities, many opportunities with our staff. We encourage them to volunteer both during the workday and after hours. And if they don't have a place that they can volunteer or know about, we tell them of different organizations that need assistance, so they can use the skills and their passion to help organizations. And I think, again, that's really where we other credit unions can make a difference, is being there, volunteering, doing the hard work that I don't always think every large financial institution can or really wants to do. So that's where I think the difference can be made.
I certainly respect and applaud what you're doing, but I will say, on Sunday, I was volunteering at a soup kitchen that feeds the homeless. And I was talking with a guy, and he told me he worked for Bank of America. And he said that if he put in X volunteer hours, I think it was 50, B of A would donate $250. And I'm kind of making these numbers up, to any charitable organization he designated. He just had to show that he was putting in that time, and they would make a contribution. Now, obviously, it had to be a 501c3, et cetera, but it's which I thought, man, that's cool. That's really cool. There he is making chili to feed the homeless and accumulating hours that will translate into money that will be donated to the organization that's feeding those people. So,
yeah.
So I do think credit unions have an edge in community, but when I hear things like that, I say these big guys sometimes do things pretty well.
I actually like that idea. I may have to borrow that. That's actually a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just terrific. It's not giving him the money. He's a pretty highly paid person. He probably didn't want a small amount of money thrown his way. But, it's like, not only am I volunteering, but they're going to get some money at the end of it. So,
right.
Let's steal it. Go ahead. I mean, that's the beautiful thing.
I might have to, because there are definitely any donation help, can help a 501c3, but there are definitely some smaller ones that could really, really help them. I actually like that idea. Yes. We partner with several organizations that help with food insecurity or homelessness, and unfortunately, we have seen them get squeezed with some of the funding that is now dried up, and so it's always heartbreaking to hear those stories, and that's why we do the best that we can to support them, both with some donations, but also sending some of our staff whenever we can, encouraging them to volunteer at those organizations, because they've been truly hit in the past few months. Yes.
Do you solicit feedback from employees about organizations that you should be helping and sponsoring?
We do. So we do it a couple different ways. We have an employee experience survey that we do annually, where folks can always talk about their volunteer opportunities. We also collect that feedback from the folks that volunteer. So as we log those hours into our system, there's an opportunity for folks to talk about what they're doing and recommend that volunteer experience throughout the organization. And then we just have other ways that people can communicate with our with the team that coordinates that in the community, as well as sort of a general suggestion box that people can inform us about. But we do get feedback, and that does lead to us making donations or having folks go out and help an organization. Many times we have employees that are passionate about a cause, and they will lead a team at a walk, let's say, and so we'll make a donation to the walk for that team. But if there's a good organization that's doing good work in the community, yes, we want to hear about it, and if possible, we want to amplify that message to the rest of the organization and get as many people as we can to help them.
I've thought about credit unions for a pretty long time at this point, and I do think community relations is a place where they can get a real serious competitive edge, do good for the institution, but by doing good for the community. It's That said, if I were an institution your size, I'd much rather compete against Chase than PNC, because I bet you a lot of the people in your 10 counties think PNC is a local institution. It's that's scary. No one thinks Chase is local.
Right. Right. Not in our area anyway. They are here, but they, yes, I think people definitely view them as national, and obviously, Bank of America.
International, it's in the stratosphere someplace.
With a name like Bank of America, you sort of tell people that you are not local. Yes.
Well, hey, that bank originally had that name when it was founded in San Francisco.
No, that's true.
And it operated only in California. I mean,
this is true.
I'm an old guy. I remember when First Interstate Bank in Los Angeles had that name because it was the first interstate bank.
The first.
And that was in the 70s, I think. But it's
right.
Before we go, think hard about how you can help support this podcast so we can do more interviews with more thoughtful leaders in the credit union world. What we're trying to figure out here in these podcasts is what's next for credit unions. What can they do to really, really, really make a difference in the financial scene? Can't all be mega banks, can it? It's my hope it won't all be mega banks. It'll always be a place for credit unions. That's what we're discussing here. So figure out how you can help. Get in touch with me. This is rjmcgarvey@gmail.com. Robert McGarvey again. That's rjmcgarvey@gmail.com. Get in touch. We'll figure out a way that you can help. We need your support. We want your support. We thank you for your support. The CU 2.0 podcast.